Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Places We'll Go show from Richie and myself. Great to have you with us again. And today, well, we've had a string of brilliant guests, and this continues today. Very, very grateful to have you with us today, Suresh.
Thank you for having me.
So let me do the proper intro. Suresh Balaji, Group CMO of Lloyds Banking Group. I mean, this is a big job. We were talking in the green room. Congratulations, Suresh and the team. I know you can't talk about this because you're in a closed period, but 5.5 billion profits in the financial year. I mean, this is a massive group, and I think you probably have the majority of the UK in some way, shape, or form as customers. We'll come on to that. So huge and complex, and you're about 4 months in. It's perfect time to talk to you because perhaps, post first 90 days, post honeymoon, figuring it all out. And for many people, they will be in this situation now or will be in time, in those early days trying to make an impact. But let's rewind a bit just to talk to your bio, Suresh. So you like me and Richie are Marketing Academy alumni, and many of our guests are, which is a great thread. But going right back to the beginning, you started out in India at GSK, moved to Dubai in 2007, and went startup in soap and shower products. Could tell by the financial crisis, but that I think shows a glimpse of the entrepreneurial streak within you. You were at HSBC for 17 years. I only made 2. Richie, I think you were about 5. I'm not sure, but you were 17 years, finishing up as CMO in APAC. And then prior to Lloyds, you were at Standard Chartered in Hong Kong. So a truly global citizen. And when we were researching, I mean, it's very clear you're a very forward-thinking person. You're founder of the Web3 Marketing Association. It just gives an indication of the future orientation you have. And I've heard this thing about helping to build the next generation of the internet. So we'll hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
In addition to all of these things, you've got a number of advisory and voluntary roles. So many times we have people on the show who are so multifaceted, which is great. And then I couldn't go without saying, I noticed you're a collector of Superman comics and socks. So maybe we'll get into that at some point in time. But more than anything, an all-round lovely guy. Every time I met you, Suresh, there's like a twinkle in your eye, and you're a lovely, vibrant person. So fabulous to have you on the show.
Thank you, Mark. You are very, very kind. I think I hadn't heard the term Squiggly careers. Maybe up until 3 weeks ago, I think someone told me in an interview, and I realized, wow, that's a nice way to talk about it. I used to sort of be defensive about my career being a bit of a chow mein soup, but it feels like maybe all the things that I did is what got me here. So it's pretty good. I'm happy about that. I'm looking back. I'm feeling proud about the journey. I'm also thankful and grateful for all the people who helped me get here. 4 months into Lloyds, we briefly spoke about the time after the honeymoon period, but I don't think the honeymoon period just ended for me, and I would love to tell you why.
Well, come on, let's elaborate right on that. Let's get right into that, Suresh. But I just have to say, I've heard of Squiggly careers before, but I've never heard of chow mein careers before. Maybe that's the Asian version of Squiggly. Who knows? But talk to us a little bit about honeymoon periods.
So look, I started end of October. The wait to come to Lloyds was a protracted one. So I first spoke to them in Jan of last year. But by the time I called it a day at Standard Chartered, it was April. But I realized I had only spent 7 or 8 months at Standard Chartered. I signed up to be at Standard Chartered after 17 years at HSBC. The mandate was to help with marketing transformation, and I was halfway through it. And I remember distinctively writing to Lloyd saying, "Look, I'm not done at Standard Chartered yet. I want to wrap up some things that I started. Please, will you give me 6 months to do what I got to do?" The response I got from Charlie and Jane Upperman, the CEO of Consumer, was, "You do what you got to do. This is one of the reasons why we hired you. We would have been surprised if you had said you want to up and leave. So keep your promises. Come here when you are ready, and because there's a long road ahead, and you're going to jump into some really big pieces of work." Big bodies of work waiting in the taxi rags, some of which we've started, some of which you'll have to come and start. But you do you, we'll wait. I was super grateful. That set the tone for my relationship with Lloyds Banking Group. And I walked in, and people generally ask me, what surprised you the most? What shocked you the most? And I tell them that it's quite most people talk about purpose-led organizations, it's etc. etc. But you can when you meet old-time Lloyd's people, and you can literally see why the purpose is what it is, and why the purpose sort of percolated and came to a being around helping Britain prosper. They truly believe, if there's a different way of saying it, if you meet Lloyds Banking Group people, you will see that they are mostly about helping everyone succeed together. That's the way I would say it. So I was trying to put some words to it, clever words to it, the other day with my team, and I said, I think it's about pluralistic progress. And so it's quite an interesting thing. You go in and people say, how can we help you? And you think, oh yeah, it's just words, right? It's actually not. And which, having worked in other organizations in the past, and no comparisons, right? So, but it's strange. You start with, what are they actually trying to do? What's the ulterior motive here? And then you realize they actually mean it. And you go, whoa, they want to help you. So I don't feel like I'm doing my role myself in a sense. I feel like I have an army of people supporting me to help me be successful. That's one. And I think that the magic is always in when transitions happen, right? Magic's not necessarily in one thing or the other. I think magic's in that sort of twilight zone transformation. That's where Lloyd's is at. It's a large organization. I inherited 15 brands. Right? It's not one brand. They're all in different stages of maturity, different stages of technology maturity, different stages of data maturity, different stages of net promoter score. So that is fascinating to look at the portfolio and work through a portfolio, so you don't feel unidimensional ever. The second one is, there is my role. One of the reasons why I wanted to throw my hat in the ring for the role was the organization that I oversee is brand marketing and experience. So of the nearly 1,000 people in my organization, close to 50% do experience. So Lloyd's moved to a much more agile model. It's typical value streams model, right? It's called, the business is nearly 40 platforms. Platforms have end-to-end accountability, and they have a business platform lead. There is a technical platform lead, and my organization supplies, so to speak, the capabilities that are required for experience. So we have service designers, experience designers, user experience people, design delivery people, design operations, design research, design analytics. So that organization is fascinating. So in some sense, the opportunity for me was, why I was salivating about this role was, it was not just brand and marketing, it was delivery of the promises that we make. And it is a structural advantage for Lloyds Banking Group, the way they set it up. So look, I've inherited an incredible set of capabilities that can be deployed on an incredible set of brands that are transforming. So, hey, I'm going to be honeymooning for a while.
Well, I'm not surprised you're salivating. I mean, I just wanted to skip back to the high integrity you had with regards to Standard Chartered, and the message to anybody, keep your promises, you do you, and it sets the tone. I mean, that's just a lovely, get a great sense about the whole thing. And it's more than just words, whether that's helping Britain prosper or actually the way to treat people right as employees. Yes, so I'm not surprised you're salivating. 15 brands, 1,000 people, the true brand management in terms of having customer experience, because the brand is everything that the customer touches. Agile. I mean, there's a lot going on. So 4 months in, what are you wrestling with? I just actually caught my eye that you put out an ad on LinkedIn for a job and had hundreds of applicants, which is very flattering, but also a problem in itself, maybe. But more generally, Suresh, what are you wrestling with?
So as an incoming CMO, all the things that you hope you have, right? So the first thing you hope is you have a great set of brands. I must admit, I mean, at some point I'll meet my predecessors and thank them for the work that they did, right? They created distinctive brand assets that really help us get to where we need to get to, and where we need to go, right? So which is amazing. I mean, the iconic horse, the X of the Halifax, Scottish Widows, you see all of them and you go, wow. So huge thanks to people who built all this stuff before I got here. The second one is you hope for a top talented team. I have a really good mix of new folks, people who've been here, people who understand the culture, and people who are also can bring new thinking in, which is really good. So the bench strength is really strong at Lloyds Banking Group. Our experience design team, for example, they have come from all sorts of places, right? From banks to to insurance firms, to technology companies, to music streaming companies, all sorts of places. So really cool. And then the point that you made was, I'm also fortunate because the Lloyds decided not to fill some senior roles before I got here. So which is why as soon as I came, I could get those job ads out. We are currently interviewing for a group brand director. I mean, what a job, right? If I was not doing my job, I would want to do that job. 15 brands and all of it, and transforming Lloyds into, what should it look like? And we'll come to that in a minute. And then we have a consumer marketing director role vacant because I'm a commercial marketer. The thing that I tell my team always is, the clue is in the word. Marketing is about the market, and marketers forget about it. The marketing becomes about advertising, marketing becomes about comms, marketing becomes about all sorts of stuff. But marketing is about winning in the marketplace. So we have a commercial marketing director role vacant, which we are starting to interview as we speak. And you're right. We sort of set up that role very differently. We spoke to our the HR organization in Lloyds is called People and Places, and the person who leads it, a lady called Sharon Doherty. She's a force for good, force of nature, and she, like me, was salivating because it was people and places role, right? It's all the places, all the offices, all the branches, all of that sits with it's HR plus real estate. So it's people and places, as they call it. And they have been very good in helping reframe some of these roles as well. If you read those job descriptions, I think they're some of the best job ads ever written. So going back, you hope for a good set of brands, you hope for a good set of people, you hope for sponsorship. Lloyds is in the middle of second year, and they ended the second year in a long strategy journey. So halfway through the first cycle of Charlie Nunn's strategy, and we can see the strategy is working. And for me, if I had come 2 years earlier, it would have been really hard for me to land at the time when the strategy is set, some of the works in motion, and I have to sort of jump in and and do what I need to do to play my part. That's the third one. I report to a lady called Jane Opperman, who's our chief executive of a consumer business. She's CEO of consumer relationships, and they don't make leaders like Jane Opperman. She starts with kindness. So it's an incredible place to have a brilliant line manager, as well as sponsorship from Charlie and the group exec to deliver what we need to do. So look, those are the three big pieces, right? And I think the roadmap ahead looks exciting because of so the way that I'm thinking about this, Mark, and I would love both your views, maybe on this call or off this call, is brands are a sum total of all experiences. It's not, brands are not advertising, and we all know it, we all say it, we all agree, but very few people do something about it. And very few CMOs can actually do something about it because they don't have access. I didn't have access in my previous life into the experience organization because we had an experience organization. They looked at NPS, which is great, but the actual experience builders usually sit inside the cross-functional engineering teams. So the engineers, coders build your experience more often than not. And there's nothing wrong about it. Now, the question is, how do you have the engineering organization, who all mean absolutely well, give them the brand playbook? Can you give the engineers the brand playbook and get them to go where we need to go, is the question. So the way we talk about it, this phrase that I use, Jane uses, Charlie uses, now the team started using, is experience-led brands. So it's very clear that, the future for us in financial services or in any other organization that is data rich is to utilize all the data that we have for the better of our customers to build kick-ass experiences that gets people, wanting more, staying on, and creating a sort of unified memory structure of what your brand is. And if you couple it with some of the best thinking that there is already around distinctive brand assets and mental availability and all that, then it's magic, right? I think the big, financial services, you both know this from your days in financial services. Financial services talk about positive jaws, right? Positive jaws are when revenue is going up and costs are going down. But in this case of brand building, I think positive jaws, it should be the net promoter score is going up, and the brand slowly rising alongside it. It should be a crocodile staring at the sun. So that's the way to go about it. I think it's net promoter score led, experience design led, brand building. Look, it's not easy to do this thing because one, we got to make magic happen by getting different vernaculars together, right? I think that's where most of my time's going into in terms of the design vernacular, the marketing vernacular, the engineering vernacular, the DevOps vernacular. They're all different vernaculars. You've got to be able to get Google Translate between them. And if I can get that right, I think it's going to be super awesome.
Suresh, wow, you've just, certainly given us a wee bit of a masterclass into service-based marketing and what sort of intertwines in the mix. And I think that's so forward-thinking, right? Experience-led brands and the mixture between how you get engineering and brand-based colleagues to kind of work together, unifying your data, as well as what you said around the marketing mix, to be able to then create magic happen, as you so eloquently put it. So much to unpack there, quite frankly. So I'm kind of spoiled for choice in what the next question needs to be. But particularly, I maybe want to come on to something which I think is actually inherent in you, as it is perhaps in what you described in Jane, which was the need to start with kindness. And I actually think that it's one of the most underrated USPs of leadership, and perhaps today even more so. And I just want perhaps get your take on the role that kindness plays in today's leadership, and how you can use that as a superpower to supercharge an organization.
Oh, amazing. So I think, Richie, you're spot on, right? I think, so the way I describe my values, so I've gone on a long journey, of course. So look, I started in a village in South India, right? It's a village of 2,000 people. The best times were making cricket bats out of coconut tree bark. And playing with, making balls out of socks, right? Maybe that's where my love for socks comes from. And playing with the village next in the next village and losing all that, right? So my starting point is, what can go wrong, right? From where I was, I was born in and grew up with food from the earth, sunshine. There's nothing that can literally go wrong in the world that we live in and inhabit. If we wake up in the morning thinking where we have all come from, everyone has had a journey, and we just always need to think about the journey that we started off and never forget it. I try to tell my children about it all the time as well, right? To tell them stories of my village, stories of where we came from, etc. And though the thing that village life gave me was everyone knew everyone. Everyone wanted to help everyone. There was never, you could literally, you knew everyone's names. And just my village has just grown at this point, right? That's what it is. In the space I inhabit has just grown. There are just more people in my village, not this one. The second point in this is, I've gone through my own journey of trying to distill what my values are. I think the most important thing to really understand, what will you stand for and what will you not? I think the seminal book for me in this is Principles by Ray Dalio, right? It's a big fat book. I've gone through it a few times, and really codifying what your principles are, really codifying what you stand for and what you will not stand for, and therefore making life choices and making decisions in life just reduces anxiety, creates joy, creates satisfaction, creates platforms for gratitude. There's a whole host of things that we can talk about here. But I think at this juncture where I am, my values are, there are three values that I live by and I stare at. It's in the front page. I know my notebook's downstairs. The front page. I write a few things every time I start a new notebook. I want to live in in the sort of center of a few Venn diagrams. And the first Venn diagram is curiosity, courage, and kindness. And I think those are the three things that matter to me the most. Those are the three things I talk to my children about. Those are the three things that I talk to my team about. This is what leads me. So when you spoke about technology and, internet and the future of the internet and everything, where the reason why I got to wherever I got to in those spaces is not because I'm inherently, I'm a technophile, but it's not because for the sake of technology, but it's where my curiosity took me. The reason why I've been able to do some stuff in my sort of charming career is because of a little bit of courage, a little bit of sitting outside the comfort zone and saying, yeah, what if and why not? Even this move, we were very comfortable in Hong Kong. 8 years in Hong Kong, I would really recommend. I mean, Hong Kong gets a fair share of brickbats unnecessarily, right? I think it's a great city to live in. 15% tax, sunshine, 3-hour flight radius to some of the most exotic places in the world, and 4 seasons.
Keep selling it, Suresh. Keep selling it.
Oh my word! Right, so I would totally recommend it for everyone. For us to uproot a family that come here, and I must thank my better half. Right, she's more courageous than I am. I have learned courage from her, and she's like, yeah, let's go and see what we got to do. Let's go and figure it out. It'll be a great adventure. That was her line. And sort of being sort of courageous and not being comfortable in spaces, and therefore kindness, I think is the fundamental sort of bedrock of all of it. And it's very simple. I think I just want to treat people how they would like to be treated. I would like to be treated. I would just want to treat people how I would like to be treated, or how I would like them to treat me, rather, right? So that's how I sort of talk about kindness. And if you make it that simple, it's not very hard to practice. So all of these are experiments in everyday life. I experiment with my kindness. I experiment with my curiosity. I experiment with my courage, and they're all. You take one step forward, you falter, you test, you know where you go, and Ray Dalio talks about it really well in his book. The other book that speaking of books, I'm sorry, I'm meandering a bit. The other book that I have read multiple times over, maybe 15, 16 times, is Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. I'm a staunch believer of the Stoic philosophy. I'm not religious, but I'm philosophical, I'm spiritual. So if and both books, and the reason why I recommend both books is both books were not written by self-help gurus. They were written by practitioners. One is one who set up Bridgewater, one of the greatest hedge funds in the world, and the other was an emperor who wrote a journal to himself, and he didn't write a book. It was his journal that they published. So look, learning from some of the greats, codifying values, experimenting with them, testing with them, stretching them, putting them to practice is the way I would go about it.
Thank you, Suresh. Richie, I think this is going quite well. Wow, what a lot to unpack. Love the stories of your upbringing in the village, playing cricket, maybe losing, but enjoying it. And your village has just grown. And curiosity, courage, and kindness, what fantastic values. And that these are all experiments in everyday life. It strikes me that you are very philosophical. And I'm interested to know how your philosophical insights play through into your marketing approach to marketing strategies.
Wow. Okay, I've never been asked that before. But it turns up in the way that I work, I think. Mark, how do I... You made me think there, Mark. I don't have a straight answer, but look, I love the idea of pluralistic progress. And which is probably why, going back to your question about my early views of Lloyds, I think I inherently feel deeply connected to the organization from the get-go. So that's probably the first part. So it makes it, as a marketer, you don't want to be marketing things that you don't believe in. and you don't want to be marketing things that you have a visceral negative reaction to. And the counter to that is you really want to be going to town with the stuff that if you chance upon, this is what I would recommend for most marketers, right? If you chance upon an organization that with sort of jives with your philosophy, I think you're it. Right? That's it. Let's go be it. Go be there. Do what you got to do. So for me, I think feeling the vibe and enjoying the vibe and living it truly being an organization that helps you be you is probably where it all stems from. So I find it easy to have conversations about the things that I take to market now, because I know we are truly doing the right thing. There is a big piece of regulation called consumer duty that UK regulators brought to the table a couple of years ago, and at the heart of it is do the right thing for customers. Now, when you meet Mark, you and Richie, both of you have met regulators in your previous roles, and look, people ask me, right? Oh, Suresh, you work for a regulated organization. How does that feel? I tell them, look, I started in GlaxoSmithKline. Right? My job was vaccine distribution. And if you think you see regulation in financial services, the best of regulation or the tightest of regulation, rightfully so, is in places where you're injecting liquids into babies. And that, the product cycles, the development cycles, and GlaxoSmithKline, what a fantastic organization, right? Working with, I was in GSK in India, and you can imagine working with in villages and in rural areas and trying to do the right thing by getting vaccines to the places where it needs to get to the cold chain, and working with regulators on the stuff was what those guys did. And here, you just have to do the right thing, right? And that's about it. So if your organization starts off by saying, we are here truly to help Britain prosper, we are here truly help pluralistic progress, then it jives with my values, and I find it easy to take things to market, right? I don't have to question myself saying, are we doing the right thing? No, actually we are.
Suresh, what's interesting is my perception through this conversation is that you've lived a life sort of in polar ends and extremes to some extent, whether that's geographic locations, whether that be different industries, startup to multinationals on the one hand as well. But actually, of course, the starting point through all of this was in itself something that would be hard for many of our listeners to grasp, right? A 2,000 person village, I'm from India myself, and so sort of recognize a lot of what you're describing there. But one of the things that I always had when I sort of moved to this country many moons ago was the level of structure we have in place for social mobility, which certainly when you were growing up probably didn't exist in that sense. So the ultimate test of your perseverance is the thought that you could go from a village in South India to then become the group CMO of Lloyds Banking Group. And with that, the thought around how do you genuinely become socially mobile, certainly in those early days. And I just wondered if there's any nuggets that you could share with our listeners here in and around how you achieved that.
Thank you. Well, look, I didn't want to be socially mobile, right? I was just doing what I needed to do. It was not a pursuit to how do I get richer, to be honest. So at any given day, you get played with a set of cards, and you got to, you're dealt with a set of cards, and you got to play them. That's about it, right? I don't think I thought when I am in my 30s, I should do this. When I'm in my 40s, I should do this. When I get to 50, I should do this. I just did what I had to do at that point. I think that's the first one. Not thinking, it's every time people ask me in interviews, what's your 5-year plan? I didn't have one. And it was just, oh yeah, what am I doing this year? What am I doing next year? That's probably as far as it goes. So the one thing that my Indian roots have given me is, and my family roots have given me is the thirst for knowledge, curiosity. My mom was a teacher. Her mom was a teacher. I come from a family of teachers. I used to teach. I taught in Hong Kong U. I taught the MBA class in Hong Kong U. I used to teach in Bombay University. I studied brand building in Bombay University. I was an examiner. I have a deep love for academics, and the reason, and that has given me, I have voracious appetite for hoovering up knowledge. I read a lot, so I think my sort of shortcut has been reading and learning things that no one taught me. I learned about public websites back in the day by reading books about public websites. I still remember I remember reading MS-DOS for Dummies. Those books we used to get, so and so for Dummies. I bought MS-DOS for Dummies. So no organization can teach everyone everything that they need to know or they need for their life. Organizations create incredible platforms, and people just have to figure out all the things that they're interested in. And my sort of, if I should say, not career advice, my sort of invitation to people would be, look, books are getting cheaper by the day. Digital books are available, Coursera, YouTube. I've done so many LinkedIn courses. And I'm at any point in time reading 4 or 5 books at the same time. I buy more books than I can read. The missus gets quite annoyed, saying, "Hey, another Amazon parcel for you." But I would say, create curiosity, create a hunger for learning, create a hunger for reading. One of my favorite interview questions to people is, "What are you reading?" And you can tell a lot by what people are reading. Tell a lot about them by knowing what people are reading. Also, I use it as a book exchange, right? Sort of, I tell them about the books that I love, and books they tell me about the books that they love, and it goes into my basket. And the next week there will be five new books after 5 interviews, and then Kay goes, "Hey, what have you done?" So my long answer to a crisp question, I think, stay curious, right? I think, and read a lot. Or watch lots of YouTube videos. Go do lots of LinkedIn learning.
2 things come to mind. One is all the people who are going to be interviewing for these amazing jobs you're creating are going to get out and read a really good book to have something interesting to say. The other is, I'm interested in what your jaws looks like on books bought and books read. Is it the crocodile facing the sun? That's one to plot. But anyway, I it's very clear, Suresh, that relationships are important to you. And of course, the world is going more digital. So what, how do you reconcile that? What's the biggest challenge in maintaining genuine relationships in a digital age?
Wow. Look, it's nearly impossible to maintain the frequency and contact that you need with people. I wish I had kept in touch with lots of my friends from my school. I wish I had stayed connected to some people I worked with in my early days of my career. And part of us moving, I've lived in 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cities now. I think nine cities is then you sort of you're a rolling stone in some sense, and you got to hope that, and in some sense you land up, building new muscles in new places, and new ways to connect with people, and new ways to interact, and new things to learn, new people to connect with. But in the same vein, I think the crucible is finite. The space in the crucible is finite for number of people you can connect with, number of people you can stay in touch with, which is probably the unintended consequence of global mobility. And when we moved from Hong Kong to the UK, I think back to the UK rather, we promised that we will keep in touch with lots of our old friends in Hong Kong. We promised our children that they will keep in touch with their friends. But it started off as weekly calls with their friends, and it became sort of monthly, and now maybe quarterly, right? I think, but when I'm sure when we meet those people again, we will start. So we will start where we left off. But it's a tough one, Mark. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. The number of people that you want to be in touch with, and the number of people that positive jaws don't exist, right? It's tough.
I can certainly relate, and I think a lot of people will certainly be having a bit of global lives and what that entails. Suresh, if I may, when you spoke about a response to an earlier question, you and we talked about the various levers that you have that make up a great role and what you're looking forward to within the honeymoon period. You refer to yourself as a commercial marketer, and I found that a fascinating way in which to think about this, because I think you've got multifacets to your skill set. But I perhaps want to dig into this just a little bit, because I think often one perception around marketing is that we struggle to get into the boardroom and convince people, and we're not as commercially savvy as we should be. And I just want to get your take on what commercial marketing actually is and means, and therefore how do you create a level of success, relationships with our other colleagues outside of our department in order to spearhead our growth?
Well, that's a brilliant question. So when I worked for GlaxoSmithKline, my job primarily was sales, right? So my first 3 years, nearly 3 years of my career, and I would recommend anyone doing any role anywhere to do a sales stint. Sales organizations have a lot that they can teach anyone who's starting in their career, right? They teach discipline. They teach how to build relationships with people you've never met before. How do you, take your product story and make it a crisp one-line elevator pitch when you meet someone new? A lot of things that marketers need to do at scale are done every day by people in the front line, day in and day out, day in and day out. That's the first thing. The second one is it's very hard to convince someone to buy anything, anytime, right? Unless you come up with a cracker of a innovation that people are queuing up for. And I think more often than not, most people in the marketing industry are playing with commoditized products and services, and increasingly so. So it's important for marketers to understand that the role that they play in helping the organization succeed, right? And when I moved from GlaxoSmithKline into the world of marketing, that's one thing that I had carried, which is what would the Suresh be doing, the sales Suresh be doing, if the marketing Suresh is doing whatever. So if I don't do what I need to do to help the organization. So look, we operate in the free markets economy, right? And in the free markets economy, marketing is a commercial endeavor. Brand building is a commercial endeavor. Yes, it plays a role. Organizations play a role in society. And the way we know about creating successful organizations is by ensuring that marketing plays a core role in creating healthy competition. And that's where I think my role is. My role is to help the organization succeed by helping understand what customers want, creating experiences that they need, and then taking it to market for me to beat competition. It is core to my being. I mean, when you're a salesperson, sometimes you're waiting outside a distributor, and the person sitting next to you is your competitor. And both of us are waiting for our turn to go meet the distributor. And the distributor has finite money that he can spend next month on either he can give me an order or he can give Jake an order. And now what am I going to do? If I go before Jake, what am I going to do? If I go after Jake, what am I going to do? So my suggestion would be all marketers go and do a sales stint, go and listen into sales calls, go and listen to service calls, go and sit with your relationship manager if you have a relationship management business to see what they do. Then there is no way you're going to come back next day and be some sort of fluffy brand marketing, right? You're going to do brilliant brands to help build the business.
I love thinking that.
I Hallelujah. Richie, you started out in sales. I started out in sales. That makes the three of us all have a similar perspective on that. Well, without that, you do end up as the archetypal colouring in marketer without that commercial focus. Now, we've probably only got a couple of questions left because time has whizzed by, and we've got this far without talking about technology at all, other than MS-DOS for dummies. But obviously, Web3 is a passion point, but more generally, what are some of the major technology shifts that you think are going to influence marketing and that are going to influence your approach in your role, Suresh?
Yeah. Okay. That's the second part of the question. I don't want to go on I'm trying not to use the words Gen AI, but I think I will have to. But I cringe every time I hear it. Right. I think at the heart of it is the 3-circle Venn diagram, which is data, technology, and creativity. That's the way that's the lens through which I look at this. That's the lens that I think the first person who told me about this 3-circle Venn diagram like 15 years ago was Mark Reeve. And when he was, I think, head of strategy at WPP before he became this chief executive of Wonderman. I think I met him in one of those WPP events, and we had a bit of a chat, and it stuck to me, and I can't unstuck it from my head, the way that it's become a fundamental piece to the way I think about the role of technology. It's not a standalone. It's what you do with the data, what you do with and how do you use data to do better things for customers, and marketing organizations inherently get the permission to be creative. Every function can be creative, everyone can be creative, but the only organization perhaps that gets explicit license to be creative inside a large group is marketing. So if the marketer doesn't use that 3-circle Venn diagram and just looks at it as a unidimensional chasing technology for technology's sake, I think they'll be lost. So that's a 3-legged stool. So to answer your question, we are exploring everything from how do we create. Look, Lloyds Banking Group last year, I have a team called Operations and Customer Communications. Incredible organization. And they sent 1.4 billion pieces of communication to customers. These are not notifications. These are communications, either mandatory comms that goes to customers because they open an account and we need to send them terms and conditions, or hey, if you don't keep up with your payments, there's a risk of repossession, or there is something to the effect of welcome to Lloyds Banking Group. Here's your new MasterCard World Elite card. So 1.4 billion pieces of communications, but all of that could become simpler, easier, better tone of voice. We could and the question that we are the exam question here is, how do we create some sort of brand operating system which can help us build all of these things? So that's my view to technology. So we are building a piece of kit, which we're calling it the brand operating system. And inside it will be all the creative visual guidelines, tone and manner, a tool which people can use to help design journeys, instance of Figma, what do we do with, how do we connect into Adobe Experience Manager, all the templates that we need, and as well as one of the hope that we have is, can we get to getting that engine to write customer letters, customer comms for us with prompts, using the data, using the insight, personal, relevant letters to customers. So the way I talk about experience-led brands internally inside the organization is, if we truly believe that brands are a sum total of all experiences, the letter that you sent to customer saying, here's your credit card, is as important as the letter you sent to your customer saying there's been a fraud on your account, we just found out, to welcome to Lloyds Banking Group, here's your new welcome pack, to here are all the offers. All of them are important. Every single piece is important. So that's why I think the big experience design organization works through service design, journey mapping, journey design, looking through those moments, building those tone and manner, and taking it deep inside the organization and using technology as the lever to deliver all of this. So that's the way to go.
Suresh, what's fascinating, and I suspect as you describe those various facets of the future of brand building in that comprehensive way, it's clear the reason why you were so excited about this role in the first place was because you get to play a part in that brand experience dimension, in addition to the comms and marketing element. Look, we're coming to the end of the segment, so I'm just going to pitch up the last question here before we close. And I can't believe we haven't talked about Superman and socks. So what is your fascination with Superman and then socks too?
Great, thank you. Look, my first Superman comic is from the mid-70s. My dad used to buy me Superman comics, and living in the village, it was the portal to a world that we didn't know, a world the world that I couldn't see. It fired up my imagination. I don't think I would be where I am without those comics that my dad used to buy me.
Right.
And I still have some of them. With his handwriting and his date and the dates that he wrote on them. Right, saying Suresh, like October 1977, or Suresh, September 1982. So I have the whole box of them, and I continue to collect them. And my kids love comics. So from there I started. It just grew into love for graphic novels, love for animated art, anime series, love for manga. There's a whole host of things that just the design and the art of all of that. And that side of me is probably the most creative side of me. It takes me to places where I would like to go every day. I'm a voracious reader of comics as much as I read, Marcus Aurelius and philosophy. So I continue to collect comics. And for our first wedding anniversary, Kay, my better half, she bought me a 6'4" Superman figurine. It's the likeness of Christopher Reeve, and that's usually in my study. So we're just moving into a new place, and Superman comes out of storage, and he's traveled all over with us. She bought him for me in Dubai. Went from Dubai to UK to Hong Kong, back to the UK now. He's chipped a bit, but he's on his way back.
I was just going to ask whether he actually gets a seat on the plane, or does he fly to the new location? Who knows?
Well, Rishi, I have to tell you this. So when Superman gets dismantled into 6 pieces, and the funniest moment with Superman was when the movers picked up the boxes. There was a box that said Superman's bottom, and they couldn't understand what the hell it was, because it was literally the part that was Superman's bottom in a box. And the movers on the other side in Hong Kong went, "What is this?" I have so many pictures of all of these movers assembling Superman in every location that we moved to. It's hilarious.
Amazing. But there you go. What a wonderful way of ending the segment, Suresh. It's been truly, just truly wonderful to hear you speak about so many different facets of your world. It's funny because I kind of have the 4 S's now. So it's Sales, Suresh, Superman, and Socks. There we are. We know the 4 S's. We're forging new ground as we go through. But I have the slightly impossible task of trying to summarize some of our key themes here from this morning, and it is going to be a tough one. But do bear with me. I love the notion, as you kicked off with, of a chow mein career, and what you said there was in the early days being quite apologetic around it, but yet today really embracing what it has led you to be. And I think that's great. All of us really need to embrace our pasts and help to forge, because that helps forge our future. But a strong strand of integrity sat right the way through, which actually I think is probably a paramount as to why you landed it where you have right now, which is in and around keeping your promises. And I think that filters through both professionally as well as who you are as an individual. And I think that's really, really important. You spoke a lot about the role in Lloyds Banking Group and a place where people are just genuinely trying to be helpful, which I think you alluded to the fact that you found that to be a little bit of a rarity in the corporate landscape as you've as you navigate your career. And you use the word magic a lot of the time. And I love that terminology, because I think marketers really do have the ability to create a little ounce of magic here and there and sprinkle it across where we work. And you really do have that remit to do so, because you encompass, comms, marketing, as well as experience. And we talked a lot about experience. And I think that's something that, that's really close to your heart. Brand-led experiences are really, really key. And all those major touch points that you've described. Now, that's great. And you're clearly 4 months into the space. And you spoke a bit about perhaps what are some of the key things that you landed here before. And what really came to me when you said, I really want to get and meet the people who have come before, because, I really want to thank them for the great work. It's all of us stand on the great shoulders of giants. And I think, recognizing that's what we do, and we are too, just a mere custodian from what has gone on before, and hopefully make it better for the next people coming through as well. Love some of the references to both books and people that you've admired. I think that's absolutely fantastic. And as you say, that learning curiosity has helped you through your life, in being able to come up from tough circumstances, as well as now finding fulfillment in getting those Amazon packages, probably half never read. Who knows? You didn't answer that question. But there we are. And the center of your values, I think, was very important too. Courageous, kindness, and curiosity. Those three kind of things. And even in so much that when coming to the UK again, thinking of it as a great adventure with your other half, Kay, and you working together as a great team, I think, having a great partner by your side is so underrated. And I think that's really, really key, bringing a family together, bringing you cohesiveness, bringing you a sense of, you talked about longing for friends who have gone on and may not be kept in touch with, but it all comes together in the context of family and sticking together as a unit. I think that's just really come through here in spades. We talked a bit about your philosophy in marketing, as well as how to forge a successful career. Anyone interviewing with you now, I'm sure, is going to pick up a whole heap of books and do a book exchange with you as you go through. And then finally coming on to something in and around the digital age and technology, but perhaps more poignant is the role of how everybody should start in sales, in marketing. And in fact, we're sort of an extension of one another, brother, sister, cousins, however you call it. And I think that's great, and great advice there, to really think of yourself in a one-to-one situation. You referred yourself GlaxoSmithKline, meeting a distributor, one versus the next, and how do you think about it when you're meeting up against the customer? That's the cold face, right? That's where rubber hits the road. And I think if as marketers we think about that, we're only going to be better off. And there we go. Finally, I do love the thought about your fascination with Superman comics, but I think that's ingrained basically back to your roots and your father and what he gave you. I used to read a lot of Archie comics when I was in India, funny enough. That was my big passion point there. But I think it's all embroiled into a sense of where you are, your sense of belonging, a sense of legacy, history, family, all coming into play with it. So just look, a wonderful session. Thank you for giving us your time here, Suresh. It's been fascinating, and I'm sure our audience will really get value from it. And I hope some of your old friends, colleagues may be listening in as well. And perhaps this is a great way to reconnect with you too.
Thanks a lot.